Hello there. This is episode 57, and we are going to talk about an amazing topic. Why eating less is not enough, right? We're going to talk about insulin, hunger, and weight loss explained. Because if eating less worked the way that we were told it should, most people wouldn't be struggling still. Many people are eating less. They're tracking calories, they're trying to be disciplined, and still feeling hungry and tired and stuck. I hear it all the time. So today, I'm going to be unpacking why. Why all these things are not working. Because weight loss isn't just about calories, it's also about hormones, about hunger signals, those cravings, and about insulin. Welcome back to the Path to Better A1C podcast. If you don't know me, I am your host, Jenny Peña. I am a national board certified health and wellness coach. I am a diabetes prevention program lifestyle coach, and I am the founder of Gen P Coaching. Now, I help busy professionals, men and women, improve their insulin resistance, or I should say insulin sensitivity, lower their A1C, lose weight, and build sustainable habits without extreme diets and without burning out. And as I said before, episode 57, which is part of the 2026 Insulin Resistance and Weight Loss series. So I'm going to be talking about this for a few weeks. Now, let's talk about this calories versus hormones without the dogma, because I am going to say calories do matter, but they're not the only variable when it comes to weight loss. And that is hard, right? A lot of people come, I am eating 1,200 calories, which I feel is like the bare minimum that anybody should be eating. But I hear it all the time. I hear it on clarity calls. I hear it with my clients that they are tracking every single calorie that they're eating and all that. And I can tell you, the traditional calories in, calories out model assumes one thing, that hunger is stable, that metabolism doesn't adapt, and that restriction is neutral. You see where the problem is? Because in reality, hormones do influence a lot of things. So when someone is told to just eat less, it ignores the hormonal context that determines whether a calorie deficit is sustainable or not. Let's talk about how insulin really affects hunger and fat storage, because that's the key. It's not just calories. Remember, insulin helps move the glucose into your cells and use it for energy. So when insulin levels are super elevated, you know what happens to your body? Fat storage becomes easier. Body starts storing all the fat. And then accessing that stored fat actually becomes harder. And guess what happens after? Hunger becomes more persistent. So, two people maybe eating the same number of calories can have very different experiences. That's why you have people, oh, I lost all this weight, and another person, it's not, because it's driven by physiology. It's not about effort. So, I hope that you're getting that clarity as to, okay, like this is why maybe a friend is losing weight with us and we're eating exactly the same, and then I'm not losing the same amount, or I am not losing at all. This is why. Now, why calorie deficits tend to feel harder to maintain? Because with insulin resistance, calorie restriction often leads to way more blood sugar swings, a lot more cravings, all these energy dips, and a lot of difficulty staying consistent. So restriction can actually raise those stress hormones. Now you're stressed out about, I cannot eat this, I cannot eat that, which actually further reduces your insulin sensitivity. That's why deficits often feel manageable short term, but they're very difficult to maintain long term. So when you're talking about like insulin spikes, crashes, persistent hungers, typically, this is what happens with your meals. Most likely, your meals are low in protein, they're low in fiber, they're highly refined, or worst, you're skipping them altogether. All of that can actually lead to rapid blood sugar rises and typically followed by those drops. You know how I love to say about the roller coaster? Think about when you go to amusement park, how you soon go in, and then that rapid, sharp drop. That's what I'm talking about. Those drops, every time your blood sugar goes up and down, those drops actually trigger hunger, cravings, fatigue, irritability. It makes calorie reduction way harder to sustain. So, this is the fact that I want you to embrace. And I want you to reframe what I'm doing everything right is. Because this is like one of the things that everybody's telling me. I know, I know what I need to do. I am doing everything right and it's not working. Often, the element that is missing isn't about effort, it's about the metabolic support. It is about the metabolic support. Okay. So, when insulin sensitivity improves, which is your goal, which is what you should aim for, what happens is now your hunger becomes more predictable. It's like your body is more in tune. The signals that are sending are a bit more accurate. Cravings decrease. Your energy stabilizes. So you don't have to be thinking constantly about food. You know that food noise? It goes down. And at that point, calorie awareness becomes a lot easier to apply. Because I am going to say one thing, not the very first line of strategy when I work with clients, especially when they're trying to lose weight. But at times, I do have to have them track, not as an evergreen solution or something that you have to do for your entire life, but it's something that you are going to do to bring awareness. If you know anything about me and my coaching style, the one thing I want you to be is aware before you make any changes, aware of, okay, how do I feel? Why do I want to do this? Why is this important? So it's the same thing. If you're having all these cravings, if you're having all these energy dips, be aware, when are they happening? Why are they happening? And that will actually create that clarity that you know, oh, then if I address this, most likely I'm going to be able to adjust and get the results that I want. Now, let's talk about a takeaway. What I want you to think about, what I want you to actually take away and do as an action step this week. What I would like for you to do is, instead of eating less, don't focus on eating less or cutting things out, focus on blood sugar stability. Because I'm telling you, the moment that you stabilize your blood sugar, a lot of other things take care of themselves. And I want you to choose one thing to focus on. I'm big on simple, sustainable habits. I know that people are just overhauling their entire lives because it's the new year and everybody is like thinking about all these things and they want to change everything. They have 10 things that are changing. I can tell you, your brain is going to resist that change. The brain is going to try to autocorrect and point you back into that habit that you've been doing for a while. So do one thing, pick one thing, and choose one of the few that I'm going to mention here. Add protein to your breakfast. Assess and see, do I need to add more protein? Maybe it is to grab my snacks list and build more balanced afternoon snack. Having a snack in the mid afternoon may not be bad in some scenarios. Now, if you absolutely need that, and if it's not balanced and it's not about fuel, we have a different conversation to have. But think about how you can balance your snacks. Avoid skipping meals. If you have been following me and listening to me for a while, you know that while I will coach you through everything because I believe in bio individuality, I have seen that most likely not to be a better solution. It seems that it doesn't work for a lot of people because not a lot of people can sustain having that intermittent fasting. So, having balanced meals and having at least three meals and maybe one snack in mid afternoon, if you have a really big chunk of time in between, that may actually work better just to keep your blood sugars stable. Now, also think about slowing down. A lot of people don't think about that. Slowing down when you're having your meals. having a mindful meal? Are you really recognizing the taste, the texture of the food that you're eating? That alone will help you feel full and just to notice when it's enough. And one adjustment is all you need. So think about that and be mindful that episode 58 is coming next week. And I am going to talk about protein, fiber, a little bit more on fasting, and also GLP-1s because I know everybody is talking about it. And a lot of people think that is that magic wand. And while I'm not against it, there is things that you need to incorporate. I think that there is a misconception about GLP-1s that I'm just going to have it and it's the weight is going to magically drop. It's not always the case. And also, when it does magically drop, it is not sustainable. Okay. So, we're going to talk about that next week. We're going to talk about what actually helps um, combat that insulin resistance and become a bit more sensitive to that insulin. So, we are going to cover protein for feeling full, blood sugar balance, fiber, glucose absorption, snacking, and we're going to go deep into when it actually helps or hurt and the intermittent fasting. We're going to come from a balanced perspective of how your body can naturally produce GLP-1. Now, if you're listening in real time, there is a 5-day sugar fix jump start. This is my live 5-day reset that I only offer twice or three times a year. As of Friday, January 16th, registration closes and all details are linked in the episode description. If this episode clarified why eating less hasn't worked, follow along so you don't miss episode 58. Share with someone that maybe it's stuck in that calorie cycle and keeps telling you that they need to count every calorie in order to be successful with their weight loss. And check the show notes for any resources and the jumpstart details. Weight loss works best when it's supported, not forced. I'll see you on the next week.